Bedtime is rough, even for Peanut. That's why people will try anything to fall asleep. Headstands before bed, even blowing bubbles. But Ashley has a trick that works every time. A new Tempur-Pedic mattress. It adapts to your body's needs to help you fall asleep faster and stay asleep longer. You'll wake up feeling refreshed every day. Even Peanut agrees. So ditch the wacky bedtime rituals. Head to Ashley to take home a Tempur-Pedic today.
Hi, guys. Welcome to another episode of the Beauty Pop Podcast. I'm Victoria.
And I'm Jen.
And today we're going to talk about foundations and binge watching. So we're kind of all about, I think we've reached the point in, I don't even know if you want to call it post-pandemic life, because people still are popping up with COVID, but in this whatever phase we're in slightly endemic, maybe that's what we are probably all experiencing some binge burnout. And there's kind of feels like, we've run out of all the good stuff to watch, but we've got some really good recommendations to talk about today. So I'm excited to get into that. But first, we are going to talk about foundation. We've already done some eyes. We've covered our red carpet looks, but foundation is literally it's named foundation.
It's the
aptly.
foundation.
Yeah, it's an aptly named product. You kind of have to start with it. So I have been on a years long, and I do mean years long quest to find the perfect foundation. And I settled a few years ago on Charlotte Tilbury, the Light Wonder, which is a very thin liquid. It's buildable to an extent, but you still see freckles, but it evens out skin tone, stuff like that. The reason that I've stuck with this, even though it's not that good, and the reason I say it's not that good is because in multiple seasons, if there's any humidity or if it's warm out, it kind of just runs right off your face.
Yeah.
And it's the kind of thing if you have an itch or something and you touch your face, it swipes right off.
It's gone.
And it's been kind of the bane of my existence. The only reason I've stuck with it is because every time I go to Sephora or I've gone to Ulta, I even went to the Nordstrom beauty counter, is because it's the most perfect match for my skin tone. Mm-hmm. And I keep going back to it because there's just nothing else. I've had girls at Sephora helping me for an hour and they just are exhausted and they're like, it's the best shade for you. You might as well just keep it. I've tried every kind of primer. The Grip It primer, which we talked about in the red carpet ready episode, that has helped the most. But I also don't like layering on.
I don't either, especially during the heat.
Yes. So that's been kind of a love-hate relationship. I use the Charlotte Tilbury, the stippling brush. So I don't pack it on too heavy. And even if you do, and I've used setting spray, I've tried powder, I've tried everything, it just doesn't really stick on my face. But again, the color is perfect, so I've just stuck with it until I wandered into Ulta. No, I don't even remember what I was looking for. I think I was looking for something for my husband, Lewis, because he needed some moisturizer, and naturally it got derailed and I ended up buying stuff for myself. But right at the at the opening of the Ulta that's near us, was this brand new Chanel display. I have never seen Chanel outside of Nordstrom or Saks Fifth Avenue.
Yeah, I don't even think I knew Ulta sold Chanel.
It's a new thing, and one of the major perks to buying Chanel at Ulta right now is they have the foundation that I bought that is the most incredible foundation I've ever used in my life. And it's a specialty item for Ulta. The reason I know this is my mom went into Macy's near us, which does have a Chanel section. It's kind of small, but she asked about this same foundation, and the girl who was the head of she was from the Chanel brand, and she said, "Oh, we're not going to get that for another couple months. That's a special thing that Ulta has. It's called it's called Chanel number 1. We all remember Chanel number 5, the perfume. Yeah. It's not that. It's Chanel number 1, and it has a little red number 1 on it. That's how you can tell.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, it's super cute.
Cute packaging.
So it is. It's very cute. And it's the reason it's red is because red, I'm going to butcher this, carnelia or something like that, is the flower that they base a lot of the Chanel products on. It's this researched flower from France, and it apparently has all these anti-aging properties. And that's the basis of this foundation. It's a little perfumey because it's natural from that flower. So if you really hate fragrance or a fragrance really bothers you, maybe, do a patch test first. But I'm telling you, this was love at first swipe. I had the little sample sponge thing in Ulta, and I did one swipe across my cheek, and I was like, oh my God, this is like heaven. Like, this is unbelievable. It's the perfect weight. It's like this really nice light to medium weight. It is buildable. It's not matte, and it's not Charlotte Tilbury glowy.
I like that.
It's right smack in the middle. You feel moisturized, because I'm horrible. Even though I have been doing this podcast for a while and I've been talking about fashion and beauty for my entire radio career, I still sleep in my makeup, like
I do
more
too.
often than I should.
I think we all do. It's like the little social media things. Little Miss, we're Little Miss sleep in our makeup. I do the same thing. It's ridiculous.
Totally. I mean, I know everyone with amazing skin, like J-Lo and Jessica Alba, and like name any celebrity with incredible skin. They're like, I never sleep in my makeup. Kim Kardashian,
after a couple of martinis and a long night out, who has time for that?
I mean, they must have like a butler that just wipes their face for them while they're already in bed. That's what I'm convinced
I would love
of.
that, actually, because if
That
it's a
would be
work
amazing.
night,
Yeah.
I'm exhausted from work. If it's a weekday or if it's a weekend night, I'm probably exhausted from whatever else I've done. It's just a common theme.
Totally. So I still sleep in my makeup more than I should. And when I woke up the next day having this Chanel foundation still on my face, and I had kind of forgotten that I didn't wash my face. When I woke up the next day, I was like, wow, my skin doesn't feel dry like at all. It feels really moisturized. Like it was like a 24-hour kind of thing. And then I read on one of the packages that it actually has a moisturizer in it that's supposed to keep your skin moisturized for like 48 hours. I didn't test it that long. I washed my face the next morning. But I am so... I'm like, I cannot even express the level of stokedness that I had when I saw how successful this was, because it's been such a battle with the Charlotte. And the interesting thing is, so for Charlotte Tilbury, because we've talked about, you and I, Jen, have fair Irish skin.
Mm-hmm.
So for Charlotte Tilbury, I use a number 4 fair. And so the Chanel, because I have a little bit more sun, so the Chanel, I ended up getting BR32, which is beige.
B. Arthur, like the Golden Girl.
B. Arthur, yes. B. Arthur 32. It's beige rose. That's what the BR is. 32. This is an actual exact match to the Charlotte Tilbury.
Oh, how funny.
Who knew? I mean, after all these years, right? So I bought that one because it matched my skin at the time. And this was like in, I want to say, early June. And then I got more sun. So then it started to look like the rest of my body was way ahead in terms of the color. And then, I hate that like pale face weird look. So I went back, and a very helpful girl was like, yep, I can see like, the difference between like your winter skin is probably going to still be the BR32, but your summertime skin, which I wear SPF 70 on my face.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really get a ton of sun, but I've been out so much more this summer. And so I've been in the car a lot, and I've just been out on the beach much more. So when I went back,
I find it's not that you're tanning your face; it's that it needs to catch up with your arms, right?
Yes.
And your chest,
and also like even if you wear hat and glasses and stuff, the reflection and melanin in your skin still spreads out. It sort of seeks to spread out anyway. So like it just naturally happens. So my summer, which for most people would laugh because it's still really pale, but my summer shade ended up being BR42. So I went from 32 to 42, and now I have like the perfect blend for summer and for when winter comes along. I use the same stippling brush from Charlotte Tilbury on this. It's perfection. I found that if you use a very like slick kind of moisturizer underneath, which sometimes I'll do, if it's not a humid day, I'll use the Charlotte Tilbury, the Magic Cream, which is really nice under foundation. And that mixed with the Chanel gives a nice glow. But we've had a heat wave, like we've had like weeks long heat wave on the East Coast, 100 degrees and more. And so on those days, I've actually had a few events that I've had to go to where I had to wear makeup. And on those days, I got a new Chanel moisturizer, the Hydra Gel. And that is perfect under it, keeping everything like not matte, because, I don't like a matte finish, but it keeps everything in place and a little bit of glow, but nothing like, it looks like you're sweating. So
nothing crazy.
Nothing crazy. And the other thing that I never tried, I've never been like, to me, Chanel is clothing and jewelry and shoes and bags. Like I'm not a huge fan of fashion houses that break into beauty because usually I find that they're just kind of bullshit and you're spending a lot of money.
It's just the label.
Yeah, you're spending a lot of money. That's not where they're putting they're not investing. They're investing in fabrics and leather and, and paying designers and models and fashion shoots. They're not really investing in a ton of science. In Chanel's case with this formulation, from everything I've read, there is a lot of science in it and a lot of clinical trials. So it makes sense when you put this product on and you're like, wow, this is a cut above. Like this definitely is way better than what you would think. And then the other thing that I tried, I got the Chanel concealer that matches. So I got like a BR40. So it's kind of in between the two shades. It's a great concealer. Doesn't cake, doesn't have a weird yellow undertone. It's really fantastic. So
And you use a brush to apply both of them?
Yes. Yeah. The stippling brush that I have from Charlotte is a 2-sided brush. So one is for concealer. It's a smaller little mini stippler. Mm-hmm. And then the larger one is on the other side for foundation. But I'm honestly blown away. My mom went out and bought the same Chanel foundation. She's like, oh my God, this stuff is incredible. I'm like, I know. This is going to be one of those cult products that's going to, you're going to read about this a lot in Style Magazine's great with that. People Magazine, the style and beauty section is good. You're going to see this foundation number one a lot. Here's the downside. It's a little pricey.
All right. Pricey. So how much?
It's like $70.
Well, that's not that bad.
It's the most expensive foundation I've ever bought.
Yeah.
So
how long does it last you?
I mean, I only use like a couple of pumps, like maybe three pumps on the back of my hand does my whole face and neck. So I would imagine this is going to last me maybe even till next summer.
Wow. So that's not that bad.
It's not bad.
My NARS that I'm going to tell you guys about in a minute, I mean, that's not that much cheaper. I think that's probably in the $60 price range anyway.
Okay. So then that's not too bad. I did get a bit of a sticker shock. I was like, ooh, $70. I hope this works. I was like, well, it's an investment.
We'll take it. I can't wait to try it though. I love the idea that it's got that. The consistency is key for me with foundation. I think that a lot of brands struggle with either way too glowy, so you look greasy all day long, or way too matte, so it's drying. One of the ones I'll tell you, I've tried a lot of foundations in my time because I'm not necessarily brand loyal at this point to a foundation. I switched it up a lot. And one of the ones that I tried that I got high recommendations for, and it's another one that's kind of pricey, is the foundation from Huda. And it to me felt like I have
not heard of that.
Somebody had ground up chalk and put it inside the formula. It was way too matte for my liking, because my skin, like yours, is already dry. So when you put something that it got cakey, it was a disappointment.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you that the NARS, and this is the one that I've used now. I think I've repurchased this one. It's probably my longest relationship with a foundation. This may be my 4th bottle, and this is the NARS. And for your reason too, with the Charlotte Tilbury, it's not that I'm done looking. It's just that this one is the best one that I found so far. And it's the Natural Radiant Longwear Foundation. I use it in Santa Fe is my color. Mm-hmm. And the reason for that I like it so much is the formula is nice. It's kind of in between, as you mentioned, the glow and the matte, but it really lasts all day. For me, I start my day so early that I'm putting my makeup on around 4 a.m. and I need it to last until 6 o'clock at night. And I don't have a lot of time to do touch-ups in between during the day. So I'm really looking for a foundation that works. And for me, this one does last. It lasts at 6 o'clock. Now, if I were going out at night during the week and I started so early, I'd probably do a little reapplication.
Sure.
But for my day, it can hold up. And that includes sunglasses, living in LA, being outside, and getting a little warm during the summer months.
Yeah,
and it holds up. So I'm a really big fan of this one so far, but I do really want to try the Chanel because,
get
like
a sample of the Chanel, because I'm sure they'll give you a sample at Ulta. But I'd be really curious to see how it compares to the NARS. I mean, NARS is one of those brands that is a professional makeup artist brand. You know, these are like whenever you have an event or if you have to do a photo shoot or whatever, you know, the circumstances are, whether it's your wedding or you're in a wedding or whatever, anytime a makeup artist shows up, you're going to see a whole lot of NARS in their kit and caboodle or their, what were those things
Caboodles.
called? Caboodles, right. You're going to see a lot of NARS stuff. And even in like Sephora, when I've gone in for, you know, various things and I say, well, I need a concealer or I need a good powder, I need, you know, whatever it is, they go right to NARS because they're all makeup artists. Most of them are makeup artists who work in Sephora. And I don't know so much about Ulta, but I know more about Sephora. And those are girls who are, you know, they know the ins and outs of all these brands. And so NARS is, I'm not surprised that that's been your go-to so far. I am so curious though to see how, well, first of all, I'm curious to see if there's a shade that will be perfect for you in the Chanel #1. That's obviously the most important. But I am really curious to see how that works for you. Do you, what moisturizer do you use under the NARS?
So it depends. Right now I'm using a moisturizer with SPF. So, you know, I switch around my moisturizers a lot. I noticed that any of the heavier moisturizers I don't do during the day anyway. So I typically will use a brand with sun protection. But the one thing about the NARS is that it sticks and it goes on fast. So I don't spend a lot of time with a brush or even a beauty blender putting it on. I use my fingers, get it to melt in.
Yeah.
Do kind of the rub down. And, you know, when I'm getting ready for an event, I actually use an applicator, but I need something that's going to go on fast and look good and blend fast, especially during my work week. So
sure, yeah.
That's why I like this formula because I think it blends in. And I like it because it doesn't look cakey. It doesn't look like I'm wearing a ton of makeup. It's definitely a heavier coverage than like a CC cream or something you might wear on the weekends. But I have a little bit, my skin, I'm very lucky, but my skin, I wear a foundation to even out the red because I have a lot of pink in my cheeks because we're the Irish girls, right?
Yep.
And then I also have, and this is a fun thing, ladies, as you get older, you start to notice that you're getting some hyperpigmentation. And I noticed it just on my jawline on my left side. And I'm sure it's because that's the side where I'm driving around.
Yes.
It's hitting it all the time. So there's some hyperpigmentation there that's exciting and fun to deal with. And so this actually blends that out a little bit. It makes it a little bit less noticeable, at least for me. So I really like the NARS, but I have to tell you that on the weekends when I don't have something that I feel like I have to have full face of makeup on for, I'm always looking for either a CC cream or just kind of a tinted moisturizer that will make me feel confident enough to even out my skin tone, but still make me feel like I have something, but it doesn't look heavy. And I was pleasantly surprised with the drugstore find that I actually just picked up because I kind of liked the pink packaging on it. And it's L'Oreal's Skin Paradise. And I have Light 03. That's the color that I use. It's a water-infused tinted moisturizer. And I've used a lot of CC creams and I'm always kind of disappointed. And I've used them from all different price points.
Me too. BB, CC, DD, whatever. I've tried them all. Hate them all.
And because a lot of times they just slip off, or if you take, as soon as you take your sunglasses off,
or you might as well be putting
half
foundation on, right? Like some of them are so thin that you have to keep like adding more for the coverage that I want. I'm like, all right, well then this is foundation now. Like, why am I
it looks like you're wearing a full face of makeup.
Totally.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So this one I like. It actually felt really good on my skin. It feels really breathable. It adds enough color. So especially during the summer months, I feel like I'm kind of catching up with a little bit of color that I have on me.
And this takes the place of your moisturizer?
Of
or do
my
you do
foundation.
It on top?
I still use moisturizer because I'm just dry. You know, I'm in that.
I'd use the same thing.
Yeah. So I'm already kind of in the realm. I guess you wouldn't have to. I do because my skin's dry and my SPF protection is in there. But this one has, this one also has protection. It's got SPF 19. So
Isn't
it
that
gives
such
you a little
weird
extra.
Number?
I know. Not quite 20.
Yeah, couldn't make it.
Sorry. But it's really nice. And for the price, you're paying like what, $10, $12 probably for this. And
I mean, we love a good drugstore find.
Yeah,
right?
It's worth it to throw in your bag. I just went to Mexico, so that's why I was looking for something that
easy on vacation
would go with me. Yeah, that wouldn't be so heavy. And what I find is if I just do that and kind of, tap around my eyes with this and put some mascara on, it feels like I'm not totally naked.
I mean, that's the point of vacation, right?
Yeah.
You throw on a long flowy dress, you do minimal makeup, and you go to dinner. Like that's that's the point of vacation.
And you want to feel good about yourself, but not fully made up. So I really liked that product.
That's great.
I also got pulled in, and there's one more that I have to tell you about because I was victimized by, I don't even know if it was Us Weekly or if it was Refinery 29 or something. One of the sites that send me email updates during the week had this advertisement for this product that promises to give you a self-tan on the face. And they also say it provided a blur effect for your foundation, like a filter, like we'd get from Instagram. And it was supposed to act like a CC cream, essentially. And so I was like, all right, I bite. I'll try this. And it's one of Amazon's top finds or something. And I'm really wary. We've talked about this before, Victoria. Buying stuff on Amazon when it comes to makeup, because you just don't know what you're getting all the time.
I got an eye infection from fake Lancome mascara once. Yeah. I think you bought something that irritated your skin. A friend of mine bought a makeup remover that she thought was like Givenchy or something, and it was obviously not. It's really scary. It's the Wild West out there with a lot of the fakes. Be very, very careful about buying anything for your face with Amazon. I just don't do it anymore.
It really helps to read the reviews, which I did not, by the way.
And a lot of those reviews are fake too.
I know.
It's hard to tell.
But they got me on this one. So it's called Vita, and it's called Beauty Blur Face for perfect complexion with tan. You can get it with or without tan. I got the light. There's only two choices.
VIDA?
VITA.
VITA, okay.
So Vita, Vita Beauty Blur Face. And I got the one with tan. You can buy it without tan. Maybe that would make a difference. So first thing, I took this one to Mexico with me as well. I took it. There's two products. I took the Skin Paradise, which I loved, and then this Vita. And so the first thing that surprised me is it was in a tube, and I was expecting it to squeeze out. It actually has like a long wand applicator with like, the fuzzy spongy head.
And so like a lip gloss kind of
but like a bigger format of that.
Yeah. Oh, that's annoying.
That's kind of weird. Yeah. And I opened up and I noticed that there was a smell, which definitely was like a self-tanner smell. Which doesn't bother me. I mean, I've self-tanned enough to just kind of be used to it, but it kind of had that vibe.
Oh.
But the color was pretty. So I'm like, all right, let's try this. So I put it on my bare face, just moisturizer. And it was like I had nothing on, but that I was profusely sweating, pretty much. Like it just was like post-gym without any of the endorphins. And so I was like, okay, this is kind of gross. I don't know if I like this. And the formula it felt good, but it just didn't look great. It was very glowy. And so then I thought to myself, I'm like, well, this is a bust. So I shake it up a little bit, and there's a little more color when you shake it up. But I got this idea. I thought, I wonder how this would be if I mixed it in with my NARS foundation, because again, during the summer, you don't want it to be quite so heavy. Mm-hmm. So where I think I saved this one, and I don't think I can recommend you buy it just because I don't think it's worth the price. If it were because it was like $40. If it were $10, I might say buy it for this purpose.
Right.
I really like mixing it with the NARS during the summer months because it does give a little bit of a shimmery glow to the NARS during the summer months. So that's where I'll recommend it. If you ever get stuck with this, mix it with your foundation, and it actually really looks pretty, and I've been happy with it. And it does actually tan a little bit. It does give your skin a little tan, I noticed.
But it doesn't leave you like orange or anything.
It's not streaky at all. It's barely noticeable. Okay. So I like
but
that.
That smell, though, does it go away? Because, that self-tanner smell...
It doesn't stick with you. It just kind of coming out of the tube. It smells a little bit.
Okay. Because I will tell you, that's not like the greatest smell.
It's not. And so I thought, what did I buy here? So I went to look at the reviews. There was one review. There was one review.
Just one on all of Amazon. One.
It's from a lady who said, I was so excited to see this product. I used to buy it when it had different packaging at Ulta, and I was so disappointed because it disappeared from Ulta, apparently. This was like well known at Ulta, but they stopped making it. It went to Amazon. They repackaged it and redesigned it. And that's what this woman got. And she said she was so disappointed. So I'd say avoid it. But if you're dumb enough to get stuck with something like that, you make a lemonade out of lemons and mix it with your foundation. It looks pretty good.
All right. Well, and like you said, NARS the NARS isn't super glowy. So if you add a little bit of glowiness.
I really like it during the summer. I really like the two of them together. I actually, like I said, if this were cheaper, I would not buy it again. But if the stuff that I have left, I will use mixing it together for the summer months.
All right, that's a great tip. I mean, the Instagram thing and wherever and Amazon, like I fall for all of it.
Wah wah.
Yeah, I fall for all of it.
When they say blur and you'll look like you're wearing a filter from Instagram, I'm like, okay, yes, please.
Right. They know how to trap us. Yeah. I know. It's I fall for all of that. We actually, in a future episode, I fell for another Instagram purchase of sunglasses, but this time it was actually a good one. So we'll talk about that in another episode.
All right.
I was pleasantly surprised because my Instagram gambles usually happen like late at night. And I've either already taken an edible or I've had a
there's
martini.
some wine involved.
So it's not like the greatest choices that I make, but speaking of choices that we've been making, so you and I have been talking about what we're streaming because since we no longer have that super early morning radio job,
we can watch TV.
There's a little more time in the day, right? So we can go to bed a little bit later and, life's a little bit different now for us. So you and I have been talking about Stranger Things, and I was so impressed that you were actually on the most recent season because you don't have a lot of time to catch up on stuff. And so I was really excited to see what you thought of the end of like the second half of season 4 of Stranger Things, which is the season that just dropped this summer. They dropped them in like two different sections.
Yeah, two doses. Yeah.
Yeah. And so like the first dose was, I don't know, 6 or 8 episodes. And then the second, I think, was even another 8 or 9 or something. It was a lot. But the first half of the season, I said to Lewis, I was like, I feel like Stranger Things jumped the shark. And he kind of looked at me. He's like, yeah, like it went way more into the horror genre than it had before.
Totally noticed
But then
that.
the second half, holy crap, it redeemed itself. So what are your thoughts? Like now that we're at the end, we're caught up. What did you think of it?
So context, I do not stream anything. You know this. You've told me all kinds of shows. You're like, watch Schitt's Creek, watch this. And I'm like, I don't really stream. I watch whatever's on network television. I have like a half an hour a day basically to watch something on TV. And I fully admit I have the worst taste in television and the worst taste in music.
Well,
give
we
me
both
some.
do like Jersey Shore, so that's okay.
That's what I mean. I'm like, any reality show, if it's like junk food on your television, bring it. So everybody's telling me about Stranger Things. And I was like, I don't know. And so I watched an episode and I was like, that's pretty good. So I watched another and then the whole season's gone. Like the first season's gone. And so then I'm hooked. And what I love about Stranger Things, and everybody was like, isn't it too scary? Isn't it too horror? And I never thought that it was. I thought it was way more sci-fi and kind of fantasy than it got in the fourth season, the horror element, which we can talk about. But I love the character development. I love the nostalgia of the 1980s. It reminds me a lot of, I would be a little bit younger, but I'd be a sibling. I'd be like the Erica age group in Stranger Things.
I love Erica.
Yeah.
You can't like spell America without Erica. She's the best.
But like we would probably be about the same age during this whole series in real life. And so I loved just the whole nostalgia of everything. And the way they did the characters, I love watching who the characters have become. It's been really cool.
And the
Duffer
kids
Brothers
are amazing
have done great.
actors.
Oh, they're
right.
good.
Like I mean, what's Millie Bobby Brown? I'm just stupefied watching her performance.
Yeah.
I mean, she's just she's like a prodigy. She really is. Like she's just an anomaly. She's unbelievable, but everyone is so good. I mean, I love Hopper and I love Joyce.
Winona
Will's
Ryder.
Mom. Winona Ryder's amazing.
How great. And she's had a resurgence because of this show. Yeah. Good for her. They're fantastic. And the guy who, I don't even remember his name, the guy that plays their like bumbling friend, the journalist.
He's great too.
He's
Murray.
Fantastic. The relationship that they've created between Dustin and Steve, I think is Steve Harrington to me is one of the most cool evolutions because he started out in such a stupid way and was the guy you kind of wanted to hate. And now you're rooting for him every time. So his evolution has been fun. The Dustin character, I think, is really fantastic. Of the boys, he's my favorite. So it's been really fun to watch. So I get to season 4 and I'm with you. I'm like, okay, now it feels like they're trying to make it a horror genre just for the fact of horror. And I didn't like that so much. But then by the middle of that season, you're sucked right back in again. It's so good.
It all starts to make sense.
Yes.
And then you're
when
like,
it ended,
I get it now. I get where they're going. Yeah.
when it ended, I had this sense of like emptiness. Like, I'm like, what's next? What do I do now? Because I binged through all 4 seasons in like a month.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt very empty. And so I said, Victoria, on the next podcast, can you give me some like suggestions? Because I need a new show to watch. Because I don't know how you people do this. Like, I feel like I'm in mourning. Like, my friend is gone.
It happens every time.
I know.
It literally happens
now
every time.
I know why I don't stream.
This is, and it's, and one of the shows that I would recommend, which you can get in and out in half an hour. It is my favorite comedy on all of the streaming services. It is my new Schitt's Creek. Like, Schitt's Creek was my number 1 comedy back then.
Yeah.
Never Have I Ever. It's loosely based on Mindy Kaling's childhood growing up as an Indian American in Los Angeles, in the Valley, really. Well, is Sherman Oaks the Valley?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So that's where
I'm
it takes
a certified
place.
Valley girl.
You're a Valley girl. So it's in Sherman Oaks. It is the story of this girl, Davy, and it's Devi, Indian name, and it's her just like unbelievable journey through high school with being in a love triangle, being like she loses her father. He has a heart attack. She's at a school concert. This is the premise of it. She and her father has a heart attack in front of her and dies. And she loses the use of her legs.
Oh my gosh.
She's very close with her dad. She's in like, I don't know, freshman year of high school. And she's in a wheelchair for a couple months. And what gets her out of the wheelchair, I'm not spoiling too much because it's very well known from the beginning. She's obsessed with the hot boy in school is Paxton Hall Yoshida. And so he's Paxton HY, and he's the most popular boy. He's like Steve Harrington, he's got the good hair. He's got the great body. And she's been in love with him since she was like 8 years old. And he doesn't know she exists. And so it takes this hilarious journey. The most random part of all, which does make sense by the end of the first season, is the whole thing is narrated by John McEnroe.
Okay, this is what I've heard. Why John McEnroe? Do we know? We know at the end?
The reason that, and John McEnroe says, stick with, he's like, why am I narrating a teenage girl's life? He goes, just stick with it. It's all going to make sense. And so I don't want to spoil it because you haven't seen it yet, but there is a really lovely connection, and it's a very sentimental connection, reason why he's the narrator. He's also fucking hilarious. And to hear him with his like, gruff kind of way of speaking, and then it flashes back to his own life and career. He's like, Davy's a hothead and I'm a hothead. And, and then he likens himself to being like, I was the hot teenage boy, like Paxton. Like, he fits in this incredibly strange, hilarious way. And he's become like the cornerstone of the show. It's really incredible. But the show has, like Schitt's Creek, it has laugh out loud moments. It has so much heart. I mean, I tear up probably every other episode. Like, it is just brilliantly written, and you're in and out in 29 minutes. This is the next thing you have to binge. You will love it.
So you're the third person now in like a 24-hour period who has told me that. So I think
season 3 just dropped, so it's kind of on everybody's mind again. Yeah. Season 3 dropped in mid-August, so it's and then season 4 they've already filmed. That's the final season, so that's going to come out probably next year at some time. But there's one of the episodes. There are 2 other in her little love triangle. It's Paxton and then this other guy Ben, who's like her academic rival, and he gets 2 episodes, and they're narrated from his point of view, but they're narrated by Andy Samberg, which is really funny.
Oh, that's funny.
Paxton has one episode where his narrator is Gigi Hadid because they're both super hot. I mean, that's literally the reason. She's like, I'm here just because, we both have scientifically symmetrical faces. Like, that's why I'm here. So it's so creative. It is unlike, I wouldn't even call it a teen drama, because there are a lot of other things happening. Her mom's a dermatologist, and she's going through, her mourning of her husband, the Indian family dynamic, the Indian culture. Like, there's so much richness and so many layers to it, just like Schitt's Creek. I mean, great writing is so nuanced and layered, and Schitt's Creek was incredible at that. And Never Have I Ever is, Lewis will walk in and out of the room and he'll hear some of the John McEnroe lines and he just laughs out loud in the other room. It is that funny. Like, it's amazing that it's bridging the gap between like the McEnroe age parents and actual teenage kids who are watching this show. It's brilliant. It's very rare.
I'm gonna have to watch. I love
show.
Mindy Kaling. I love her. I loved the Mindy Project. I've read her books. I think she really is something special, and she is very funny.
She is, and
she
this
understands
is
the awkwardness of teenage.
Oh yeah,
love. I think.
Oh
so,
yeah.
Just
you have
quick,
to watch it. I think you will love it.
I'm gonna. That's next. So I was kind of floating around after Stranger Things, in breakup mode, and I'm like, what am I going to watch? And so I got a lot of people's suggestions.
You're right. It's like such a void when you finish it. You're like, oh, what now?
And so I started. What was it called? Sweet Magnolias or something? Because I love Joanna Garcia, who's now married to Nick Swisher. Okay.
Yeah.
10 seconds. I'm like, can't do it. Done.
I heard it was terrible.
Yeah, I heard it was bad. So then I found You. Have you heard about You?
Yes, I'm caught up on You.
I
stream
watch
a lot. Oh, yeah. The creepy guy who kills all of his girlfriends. Yeah. Oh, did I spoil all of that for you?
Oh, great. I'm only 5 episodes in.
Okay, well, that is a phenomenal show.
It's really good. I'm so hooked already.
Yes, it is phenomenal. Stick with it. Now it's creepy AF. And it's so weird because Penn Badgley, who plays the lead, Joe, he's so good that even though he's a really bad guy, you always rationalize his, I don't know what you want to call them, his when he makes a mistake, and it's a big mistake, but you'd rationalize, well, he didn't mean it. I guess it's the way people felt about Dexter, which is a show I never watched, but people always seem to really root for Dexter because he was only killing bad people. I guess that was how people have explained it to me. But You is a great show. It's totally creepy. It
super
gets creepier. I think season 3 is already done. I think season 4 they're filming now. Yeah. It just keeps getting creepier every season.
And so I'm assuming that the girl doesn't survive in season 1, but I don't know for sure.
That's a safe bet.
I'm assuming she didn't make it to become a famous writer, but
safe bet.
There was something that was, and I'm assuming something must have happened to his first girlfriend as well, who went on a long trip, but I don't know. I'm just guessing.
That's a good twist. That's a good twist that will come up. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, but there is something that takes you on twists and turns where you like this guy, even though you know how terrible he is. But when I looked it up, there are a lot of people who got ticked off about it because they said that it's glorifying and glamorizing people who actually get stalked on college campuses or young people who engage in this kind of behavior.
Okay.
I know.
Come on. Believe me. He works in a bookstore. He's not a college stalker. No. Yes, he's a stalker. But come on, people need to just get a life. Oh my God, I can't.
A lot of complaints online. Harper's Bazaar, stop glamorizing stalking. It's okay, it's a TV show. That's all. We can have one TV show. It's fine.
Yeah. He's not a good guy. He's just compelling in the writing and in the way he acts. Because you also learn that he has an interesting backstory and life experience himself. So it makes sense as the seasons go on. It's not an uplifting show. So I don't know. I mean, it's you're not I need
it's not
something
end
super,
well is what you're saying.
I wouldn't say I'm choosing between a Hallmark movie and You. You know what I mean? It's not going to be on the same palette, but it's
pretty
good
a good so
one.
far though. It caught my attention. That's for sure.
Yeah. That is a really good one for you to do next. So, you know what? Let's pause here because we can talk about, I've got more suggestions we can do next in the next episode. I've got some really fun comedies that you might really like. And one of them is a new one that I binged all the way through in one afternoon because it was so good. So we'll talk about that in the next episode because there's a lot of binge burnout happening, but there are some great things that are out right now that you can find to satisfy, before you go back to network TV like Jen does.
You've got me held up right now.
There's no network TV happening. So mode. Yes. So thank you guys so much for listening to another episode of Beauty Pop. All of the products that Jen and I talked about today will be on our Instagram page at BeautyPopPod. And if you have any questions, you can always email us at beautypoppod@gmail.com. Make sure you follow Beauty Pop so you never miss a new episode. I believe we're going to be dropping every Tuesday. I think that's our day. So, but make sure you follow us so you don't miss out on anything. Thank you guys so much, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thank you for listening to Believe. You can show support to your host by subscribing to the show and giving us a 5-star rating on your preferred platform. Check us out at Believe.com and search for BLEAV on YouTube.
Hey, Los Angeles, hear the most in-depth Chargers coverage anywhere with Believe in Chargers, part of the Believe Network. Hear from me and my co-host Lorenzo Neal as we break down the Chargers before and after every game through the NFL season. Your team, your podcast. Search BLEAV in Chargers wherever you get your podcast.